The proverb about the prodigal son mentions a father who had two sons, and each of them was supposed to inherit a particular part of the father's wealth. However, the younger son decided to take his part and leave his father so that he could live on his own. Living on his own, the son mismanaged his resources and spent everything what he had gotten from his father in vain. The son was in need and finds a job. After he was hired, he got the worst food, which made him understand that he had to come back to his father with the feeling of repentance. He wanted to come back not as a son, but as a servant, because he knew that his father's servants ate well and had everything they needed, everything they needed to live. But as the younger son was coming back, the father was already waiting for him. He welcomed him and restored him as his son. He gave his son clothing and shoes, which he had worn earlier, and the finger ring, which conferred him with power to manage the property. It means that this man had been reinstated as his son. At the same time, the elder brother, who had been working hard for all that time, could not share his father's joy concerning the younger son. The sin of envy festered in him. So the father told him, "Make merry and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive again, was lost and is now found." The starting point of the human tragedy is that people lose God and deviate from communion with God, just like the younger son who has left his father becomes obscured. One's soul becomes obscured as well. And then the man loses everything. He becomes the slave of his own passions. God is always waiting for us to come to Him. When a person understands this, just like the younger son did, goes to his father, he can see that the Father is already waiting. The same concerns us all. We need to understand that we have lost communion with God, that this is our tragedy. To understand that we need not only to get rid of alcoholism or drug addiction or any other passion overcoming us, but to renew our communion with God, to respond to the call of our conscience, which is God's call, and appealing to us to be with Him. And then, when a man comes to the Father, Creator, there is another temptation, which forces us to get away from God again. We should understand that this temptation will live in us for a long time, as well as our memories about the previous life. And we have to overcome this by stating for ourselves that we should be with God. We should stay with God no matter what, in order not to repeat history, not to go back to the same state we were in before. Of course, this way of struggle is rather painful for a person, and it is quite long. Actually, it will last our entire lifetime, and we should understand this. May God help us to achieve this great victory, but we need to build upon one small victory at a time. We need to achieve the small victories over our passions, for they make us spiritually stronger. In this case, a person gains so much strength that he never returns to the path of his passions, because he is inspired by the grace of God, by the joy of being with the Father.